This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, a.k.a. the Python Hyena. And folks, I have the wonderfully gifted, talented Keith Coogan on the phone with me today. How do you do, Keith?
Very well. That is a very sweet introduction. Thank you.
I'm going to do you one better because I need everybody to know what a stand-up, gracious guest you are, because I know the first time I tried to interview you on here, something faltered on my end, and the interview didn't record, and it was all the fault on my end, but I thank you so much. I want everybody to know what a gracious giving individual you are to come back on this show. Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. Thank you everyone for listening. And I love film as well, and all sorts of, a great director said that to be a director, you got to know art and poetry and dance and, everything, music. So, I celebrate, and I totally, especially celebrate films in the 70s, 80s, 90s, etc. That kind of auteur time when the studios hadn't quite caught on to how much money they were costing them. I just love the Michael Ciminos and Francis Ford Coppola's and Spielberg's, and that whole era of filmmaking gets that totally that excites me.
Before we started recording, I've mentioned to you about some of the interviews I've done since my first attempt to have you on here, and I mentioned that I just interviewed William Daniels in celebration of the 50th anniversary of The Graduate, and I'll tell you, he was quite a catch to get on here, and you said you had a story about him.
I did. He was a recent guest at the Hollywood show here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And me and my wife went. We had to get several people, including him. We're very excited. He's signing Knight Rider jackets as we walk up to the table, a bunch of them, too. And he's just happy to be with fans, and he's very, very gracious. And him and his wife are wonderful together. She had her pictures out, too, as well. You could get a shot with both of them if you wanted. And my wife, we just wanted a shot with Bill. And I don't know what happened to me, but I had done a Knight Rider episode. And he had voiced, Kit, but after they shot the whole show, and then he came in and did all of the voiceovers. So I never worked with him or anything. And I still sat down and opened my big mouth, and I'm like, hi, I did an episode of Knight Rider. You were very comfortable to sit in. What? Why would I say something like this to this poor man? I get the, I get very starstruck, and because I'm a fan of movies, and I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. Even if it's that guy that's in that thing, you don't know. There's so much great television and film on. There's so many great actors out there. My wife's really good at remembering everyone's name. I'm incredibly impressed. She pulls it out, and I'm like, I don't know the names of most of my friends. So.
Wow. I get a little starstruck too, but I don't get to meet too many celebrities. But getting to talk to them on the phone here is, to do these interviews, I get a little starstruck. And I'm going to tell you, like William Daniels, he's had quite a career, and have him on here, it was just fantastic. And talk about The Graduate, and of course he worked with Audrey Hepburn. I mean, he just had so many stories.
And I love that there'll be fans from all generations, from early work or soap opera work or whatever there be. Different people will love somebody for a certain project. And it's always funny to see crowds, because we do go to a lot of autograph shows either as guests or we'll just go as, visitors and say hi to friends and meet other people that we want to meet. It's really, autograph shows are amazing. They'll get together cast reunions. If you ever, have a chance to travel even down to, Northeast U.S., they do throw them, not in your neck of the woods, but
yeah, I wish.
It really was fun. And, I know there's shows in Canada as well. they're, a great chance for fans to meet celebrities and everything from wrestling and rock and roll and film and TV and comic books and authors and voiceover artists. I got to meet Pinky and the Brain. That was really fun.
Oh, yeah? You mentioned wrestling. I had the pleasure of having the son and daughter of Rowdy Roddy Piper on here last Friday, and I had to do that tribute interview because I was a fan of his for some 30 years, What a loss. Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan of his, and, through John Carpenter's They Live,
Yep.
I'm a great actor, perfect for the material. I got to see him do stand-up comedy at the Improv in Hollywood on Melrose. They have another location now, but he just told great stories, like the time he wrestled a bear.
Yeah.
Really funny and fun to be around, even if only for a few minutes. He totally rules the room.
Yeah. Well, I got a list of your films down here, and you got your. I don't know if this was your start, but I know it's the first film credit you had. You did a voice in The Fox and the Hound.
Yes, so lucky to be a part of a classic Disney animated film. Some say the last one. It was the last film that the 9 wise old men at Disney that had done Snow White and all of the subsequent animated features. They were handing it off to a younger crowd of animators. John Bluth, John Lasseter, Brad Bird, Tim Burton. Really amazing, new animators that were going to make all of the future films of Lion King and Incredibles. And so it was an incredible, great cast. We recorded it right on the lot at Disney Studios. They have a soundstage that they recorded all the dialogue for their animated films, especially built by Walt. And then right next to it is a theater that they screen the films and do the sound mixing, and then do hold cast and crew screenings and screenings for Disney employees. And it's one building that houses all of their kind of sound related, and it's gone from old school big 35 millimeter films over to digital. And I remember working on various projects on that soundstage throughout the years, and remember I was lucky enough to I'd be doing looping or ADR for a project, and I remember one time they go, okay, we need to go do a reel change, and I was like, okay, I'm going to step out and go to the bathroom, and they're like, nope, we're ready. It's all gone digital now, and there was no longer that kind of old analog feel and touch and feel of the film and the tape, and but it's neat that it's still in the old building. It still has the old aesthetics, and everything feels like it's in the 1950s. So fun to. I think the first AD did the sound of Goofy, or did a really good Goofy voice, and would get me and Corey Feldman to play and do our lines, kind of move around and huff and puff, act like kids. They wanted us to sound like regular kids. My voice was always raspy. I've always had kind of a hoarse voice, like from just yelling and screaming and playing as a child. And that was, we didn't do our scenes together, though. Everyone came in one by one and did them in the booth. So we did record over several months, actually a year or so, year and a half, I think we recorded. We'd go back in after 6 months and record some more dialogue, and Todd and Copper got older. And then, our final one, we handed it off to Mickey Rooney and Kurt Russell, who took over the voices of Todd and Copper as adults. It was wildly successful, one of my most successful films. We got to join the little Disney vault of classics. Halfway through, though, Don Bluth did quit Disney and take a lot of the animators with him to form his own animation company. And that held up production a little bit. So it was made from about 1970, I want to say 78 or 79, and released in 81.
Yep. It's funny because Kurt Russell did Escape from New York the same years.
Some say that he would run over in his costume for like Snake Plissken and record his dialogue for The Fox and the Hound. But I do not. Although I did not see Pearl Bailey or Pat Buttram or Jack Albertson or Kurt Russell record their dialogue, I couldn't imagine him running over in costume to do it. But it is funny that and John Carpenter is a great tie-in to Adventures in Babysitting and Disney, and because John Carpenter's writing partner, Deborah Hill, was one of the co-producers of Adventures in Babysitting. But Escape from New York, brilliant. Not only did they not to remake it, not only did John Carpenter not need to remake it or do Escape from L.A., but they don't need to touch this one. But a series might be funny. Escape from New York series might be fun.
Sure. Well, I know that we're celebrating, of course, the 30th anniversary of Adventures in Babysitting. And I guess my first question about that film is, what's it like being babysat by Elisabeth Shue?
Oh, it's very frustrating when you're 16, going on 17. I turned 17 on the set.
Yeah.
And to be, shoulder to shoulder with this very charming and attractive young lady. But, I knew there was a line. I was definitely a minor. And she was 22, maybe 23 years old when we shot the film. But what a trooper, because she, ran and jumped and climbed all over Chicago and Toronto and Los Angeles, just, the best of them, and led a great, fun time for all of us. She was our babysitter. And took, at times it was a matronly kind of motherly love. We need a break. Nope, we're not going to go walk out on that. It's too dangerous. And sometimes it was, she's just one of the kids running around and having fun. And one of the other kids, too, was Chris Columbus. It's like 8-year-old have millions of dollars worth of film equipment and go flying around the city. So that was another, what a great lucky break. I've been trying to get into film since I was 7, 8 years old. I've been auditioning for films. I'd been in TV when I was younger and couldn't quite make that step over into film. But after I became a teenager and got the dimples on my face, then I was a match for Brad Anderson in Adventures of Babysitting. And, I really owe it to Chris Columbus for casting me, and thanks Disney and Touchstone Pictures and all the audience that supported it. Up until we did a great screening of Adventures of Babysitting at Castro Theater in San Francisco to celebrate the 30th anniversary, and fans came out, and I brought DVDs and VHS copies of Adventures of Babysitting to sign, and my wife thinking had a lot of fun meeting all the fans for that.
Was Elisabeth Shue there?
No, it wasn't really a reunion, just a 30th anniversary special. I did do a Q&A afterwards and answered questions about making the film. And really, it was just a ride. I mean, we kept moving locations all over the city because the movie shoots at a lot of locations, and we're often just shooting at night. We've got Maya Bruton, who can't work past midnight. The Twilight Zone trials, John Landis is on trial for some accidental deaths on set of the Twilight Zone, the movie. And while that was going on, Screen Actors Guild and the Canadian actors, the sister union to SAG in Canada, they were very adamant about no working past midnight for her. Yet they did grab a local girl who was glad to work past midnight. She was small for her age, and she fit right in with the cast, dressed as Sarah in Adventures in Babysitting, and she had a very thick Toronto accent. So there's Thor, Mighty God of Thunder, very funny to hear her do all the dialogue, afterwards. So anytime you see a shot of the kids and it's just the hat up and you don't see the rest of Sarah, or sometimes when we're running across the rooftop, it will be her double.
Yeah. What's it like looking at that film all these years later, compared to when you first saw it at the premiere?
It's still very fun. I think it's a, kind of a family fun film. It does have a lot of foul language, which I didn't think bothered me. But the writer did bring up that he's kind of, we're both kind of shocked at how different we were in the 80s to just blatant, what do you call it? Thor is a homo. That is a line that just, would have to be handled differently these days. It's something that, my character Brad is using as a negative to try to rile up his sister, and she's upset. Now it's, of course Thor would be homo. Of course he would be. That would be done differently in the movies today and handled differently. It doesn't seem to. It's wild, and because we did have a screening in the Castro Theater, right in the heart of the gay community in San Francisco, and crowds love the line, and we practically had T-shirts with it, but I think that would be crossing a line. Monster Squad also had some terrible language in it, and people have become a little more aware and a lot more politically correct. So when we made this in 1987, and we shot it in January, February, and March, and then it was released that July, very quickly. But it was ready. As soon as they shot it, it was ready to be released. The 90s hadn't happened, and the PC culture in the United States had not happened yet. And I also think that the 80s latchkey children and the double working parent economy that created adventure films like Goonies and Gremlins and Adventures in Babysitting, anytime where the kids are left alone. But it ended in the 90s. I think parents started being at least. I know the women, career moms, were starting to be like, no, I need to spend time with family as well. They wanted to find a work-life balance in the 90s, which allowed the kids to have a little more mom and dad time. And dad started taking a larger role in the 90s as well. And that changed movies again. We started to see a different type of kid movies. Mr. Doubtfire is a good example. So, it's just really fun to be in something that was so steeped in a certain 80s culture. It blended both a Steven Spielberg and a John Hughes aesthetic through Chris Columbus.
Yes.
For Spielberg, he'd written Goonies and Gremlins and Young Sherlock Holmes. He had worked with Zemeckis, and he also had a dark Stanley Kubrick, Dr. Strangelove. He had a Marx Brothers mentality as well. Cartoony, but not over the top. He liked things to be, crazy, but not ungrounded from reality. So he'd always warn us whenever we were getting a little too silly or a little too broad. He just goes over the top, OTT, so let's bring it down a little bit. It's hard to keep up, a 90-minute kind of arc, and you're cutting it up and spreading it out between cities and shooting ends first and beginning last. And that's something that in rehearsal process, we had 2 weeks of rehearsal in Toronto just before Christmas in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when a lot of the script really came together, and some great lines and dialogue and exchanges came out of that. And we kind of put it up on its feet like a little play. Little area that we shared with the wardrobe department and art department. They were like doing storyboards over here and had clothes over here. Little placards with Adventures in Babysitting on it. And I like that they have the kind of Indiana Jones font for the Adventures of Babysitting title.
Yeah. And of course, you got that great line there at the end where the guy, she said she's not babysitting anymore, and he says, well, he needs a babysitter, and she says, she says, she said the babysitter is not for kids. He said it's for him. Yeah, I bet you a lot of a lot of guys in the audience wanted Elisabeth Shue to babysit them all, right?
Oh yeah, it is. Everyone is very curious about working with Elisabeth Shue. Do I still talk to her? Do I still hang out with her? Do you go get a soda? And it's kind of that. I think it reminds everyone of that teen romance when you're 15, 16, 17 years old. Because I think I'm supposed to be 15 and she's supposed to be 17, which, in movie and on the set age, it's different. It's the show business. But in real life, that's decades apart. That's, oh my God, you're a freshman and she's a junior. No, there's no way. and there was a great tension there. Of course, I loved her dearly.
Yeah, but that's not the only anniversary you're celebrating this year. That was also the year you were hiding out as well.
I did. I flew off to first Boston, where we did readings and fittings, and they shot for a couple of days some Boston locations. Then we went to Wilmington, North Carolina. Dino De Laurentiis' studio. He has a whole studio set up in Wilmington. Sound stages in a great town that's got everything he needs. He shot, Blue Velvet there. Dream a Little Dream has been shot there. We came in and shot Hiding Out, which was a blend of like a, mob action thriller combined with a teen comedy. It worked. It was its own kind of little movie. We had a great premiere in Westwood, marching bands, and the whole cast came out. I think it was super fun. It started to lean more towards the 90s, I think, in being culturally aware. But it still was homophobic. I'm very freaked out that my cousin, I don't recognize him, and I think he's hitting on me in the bathroom, so I have a panic attack. So, there's sentiments that have changed over time, I think. So it's pinned as a very 80s movie. Here we have Jon Cryer, who has a baby face, playing, changing his identity and running away from the mob who wants to kill him because he's going to testify in a stockbroking case.
And this was just after he did Pretty in Pink as well.
Yes, and he dyes his hair and has trouble fitting in with the teachers. He talks back to the teachers. It's right. It is a fun, one of those Peggy Sue Got Married, if I could go back to high school and do it all over again kind of movie. And that was really fun. Jon Cryer was just a delight to work with. Very hardworking. He put together the whole production, found the script, and got it made. And he was a super trooper and always funny and creative on set. I loved working with Jon, and I got a chance to see him at a book signing out here in L.A., in Santa Monica, and kind of snuck up on him in the audience. He's, taking questions from the audience, and finally at the end I stand up and I ask, what was it like working with Gretchen as who's your mom, but was playing your aunt? He goes, well, it was Keith, is that you? And we had a nice little hiding out reunion.
Yeah, and of course, Annabeth Gish was also in that.
Oh, she's so graceful and beautiful and funny, and she handled all of the romance part of it in the teen movie and giggled like a little girl, and but then was also a very strong and very smart character. She wasn't very stereotypical, and I love the bad guy. There's always that guy. He was a little stereotypical. Tim Quill played the class president guy that thought he was Annabeth Gish's boyfriend, but she's now interested in Mad Max. And it's silly. It combines like that goofy kind of National Lampoon humor of getting your name off of a coffee can, Maxwell Hauser, to it goes all the way to snipers taking shots at him while he's trying to turn down an election for class president in high school again. And I kill the bad guy with a spotlight. I love it. The blend of the entertainment industry, the crime, the comedy, and so my comic sidekick character helps kill the bad guy with a spotlight in the high school gymnasium.
I heard that this is your favorite movie you've done. Is that true?
Oh, one of the funnest to do. We were definitely working very hard. All the way over. The weather is incredibly different in North Carolina. It can be hard to sleep at night when it's muggy. And we're working, 14, 16-hour days. So sleep is few and far between. I don't know how Jon Cryer did it. I'd get up, crack of dawn, and go to set, and he'd already been there for an hour and a half and stay much later. So I don't think he got any sleep during the time. I put down Cousins and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's dead as Don't Tell Mom was also just as fun as Hiding Out. Cousins is different. Cousins is the one step that didn't even feel like making a movie. Joel Schumacher created this great family, and this was shot in Vancouver, which some say that Cousins was part of a renaissance in bringing a lot of productions up to Vancouver because of the way they shot the city and embraced it. He didn't say it wasn't Vancouver, and it allowed them to show everything that it had, from Stanley Park to the bay to the skyscrapers downtown to, beautiful lakes. There's a great video online, I think it's on YouTube, it's Vancouver Plays Itself. And it's about another specialist in our department, how to make Vancouver look like Seattle or New York or San Francisco or Los Angeles or whatever city they need to make it. It was so languid and just like, I don't know, it was lyrical to make it. Everything was just right, and there was never, a rain delay or an accident on set or a worry or a tear. The movie, I think, is such a great remake of the French original, Cuisine, which took all the top box office and prizes, French comedy, a decade before Cousins had come out. And I was one of the cast members who did not watch the original, because in the original I was a girl obsessed with death, and in Cousins I was a boy obsessed with sex. So there's no point in me watching the original. Norma Alejandro and I can't remember who played my grandmother, Gina. Oh goodness, now I'm slipping. Isabella Rossellini.
Okay.
Billy Peterson. I had fun just hanging out at the hotel, on days of not shooting, hanging out with Billy Peterson and learning about cars. He was a man's man. And Ted Danson, trying to go around Vancouver to go get lunch with Ted Danson, and he's just so recognizable. He can't walk around in public. Even in 1988, I think is when we filmed it, 88 or 89. It was released in February of 89.
Yeah.
And a Valentine's Day release. And it did okay. It made its money. It wasn't a huge box office smash, but a very dear movie. And the music by Angelo Badalamenti, who scored for Twin Peaks and for David Lynch's films. And he also, you hear the same music in Cousins as you hear in Isabella Rossellini's Lancome commercials from the same era. We were even shooting a scene in a department store where Sean Young's character works, and Billy Peterson's character comes in to tell her that it's over. And behind in the background are pictures of Isabella Rossellini in her Lancome campaign. Very, very funny.
What's it like working with Sean Young?
She is absolute dream. I have no idea where or who, what rumors of craziness. She's helped me out on not only Cousins, but also on Forever, a film I did years later in the 90s. I think several years later. In one, she plays my stepmother, and in the other, she plays my love interest. Very we have just 10 years difference in our actual ages, so, but I definitely had a very big crush on Sean Young while making Cousins, and she was just a doll, and we had fun stealing scenes and coming up with all sorts of backstories together. And that was the thing about Cousins, is everybody talked to you, from wardrobe to hair and makeup to the art department and the set dressers that took care of your, dressing your area or your room. Every character had an area, a room, a place where that was theirs, that was like kind of their character's home. And that was so great working with that. And Joel Schumacher himself is an art director. He's a designer. And a phenomenal director in any genre, from thrillers like Flatliners to, sappy romances like Dying Young. It's Batman movies. Joel Schumacher directing, and here Cousins, this great romantic comedy, full of kind of just devilishness, and it's very like metropolitan and very European feeling, obviously because of the material, but I think because of the setting too. Vancouver is both, it feels like a kind of an American-ish city, but it also feels very European, and so it allows it to kind of morph and transform to any city it wants.
You also did a film set in
a place where I love the wildlife but never been there. You did a film called Cheetah, and of course I love African wildlife. When you were filming that, do you have any experience with any of the wildlife in Africa?
All of it and even some of it that wasn't safe to go by. We played and worked with every animal you can think of, or our stunt doubles did. I didn't actually get chased by a stampede of elephants, but our stunt doubles did get caught. We got chased by a truck with the camera on top of it, pretending like it's the point of view of the elephants. That's about as close as we came. But they had all this great footage that was wildlife photography footage. Some had been used in projects. Some had, a lot of it was, ready to be used. And it was, it'd be great to kind of have a kid adventure through Africa. It was the first of those kinds of movies. There was, I think, A Far Off Place with Reese Witherspoon after. There was another one that even had the same cover as ours. It was like 2 American kids and 1, local tribal warrior kid go off on an adventure in Africa. And it so was. We shot all over Nairobi, even over into Tanzania. We got in the depths of the Mara River Valley. It's a mile deep and 50 miles across. We're shooting at 1 degree south of the equator. See the North Star and the Southern Cross at the same time. The skies are just amazing, oppressive, offensive, really, at how incredibly huge the skies are there, because there's just nothing around. It's so flat. And we went, not only did we shoot in Nairobi, which is a city, very big, and you kind of don't, it's got the universities, hospitals, and Italian restaurants, and, I just had no idea, and it's because there's a lot of factories there, like being Coca-Cola and Wheatus, and you go further outside Nairobi. It's surrounded by National Game Reserve, and we didn't shoot in those. We went further to these other kind of game parks that were just completely open land, and you got to trek. In one case, we flew in a small airplane to get to our location. We go out in Range Rovers with all the equipment, make a little base camp, start hiking up some vista, some view, and then it usually involves some sort of snake. We had like a 12-foot python on set. Of course, the cheetahs, 2, they were actually shipped in from the San Fernando Valley in California.
What was it like working with them?
They were pros. They were brother and sister. The sister was a little older. The brother was the one that could walk around and go run around and rummage through cupboards and do whatever, and the sister was the one that could just sit there, chill, and be there with people petting her and stuff. You could pet both. We spent a lot of warm-up time with the cheetahs and meeting them, hanging them out, and then shooting scenes where we're closer and closer and playing with them. I shot a scene where I played soccer with a cheetah, and it's trained to go after the ball, and you realize your foot is close to the ball, and the cheetah's trying to get. They're not dangerous in close quarters when it's calm and there's nothing running around. The only incident we had on the set was they were shooting with the second unit, so none of the kids were there, none of the cast, but they had the main animal handler dressed up as me, and Cheetah was supposed to, they're supposed to get a plane flying over, and it did, and it scared the cat, and it turned and bit the handler right in the leg. It was, just a puncture, a couple stitches. They're not really that lethal what they're good at is chasing you down when you're running for your life and breaking your neck.
Yeah.
That's how they kill. They kill by breaking the neck or a leg and then suffocating the animal. They don't and chew you to death. They're just big pussy cats. They're big kitty cats.
Oh, yeah. And of course, you get to work with a snake.
Oh, yeah, a huge snake. We walked by the snake, which had kept falling out of the trees. So it was kind of dazed and sleepy. It was like, I really, just to get this take, I'm done. Get me back to my trailer. The snake was not a problem or a worry. They had a great snake handler out there. We were with an expert safari tour guide Jacques. And Jacques ran a first-class, world premiere African safari with the big tents. I had a bed, a cot. I had a little a basin, a wash basin. They would bring you hot water. And a desk a little writing desk, and the lights would go out at 10 o'clock at camp at night, and that's it, no power till the morning, and then they would heat up oil drums filled with water and then pour that into buckets that would then run down the hoses for a morning shower, which you smelled like creosote. You smelled like charcoal and oil all day. But it was a bug deterrent, which was nice. And then you fought off malaria. You fought, I had to get so many shots in my bump, and you have to get them time enough before, but not so close to you fly, because your bum still hurts from all the shots. So you can't take an 18-hour plane flight down to Nairobi without them. So yeah, much fun there. I took a lot of family. I brought my grandmother over. She lasted a few weeks. Unfortunately, she was a little dusty for her lungs. She was taken care of very well at the University of Nairobi School of Medicine. Top-notch, first-class doctor. Helped her. She lived many, many years after. And then my mom came with one of her friends, and we just toured around Africa shooting this great film. Eating. We went to a restaurant where we got to eat. It was called the Carnivore.
Okay.
Huge open roast spit with everything, giraffe and zebra and ostrich and wildebeest and crocodile and everything you could possibly imagine. And we're eating at this huge table, the feral cat surrounding us. It's an outside dining area, and a huge round table with sauces, and dip the wildebeest into the mustard sauce, and ostrich is red meat and crocodile is white meat. I didn't even know that.
What tasted the best?
They came up to me and they said, here, and it was a weird shape looking like meat, and they say, shiko. And I said, what is this? They go, shiko. I don't know what a shiko is. And they go, chico. And so it was chicken. It was delicious. I would say the ostrich was good. Crocodile was good. It was barbecued crocodile.
Okay.
And it's like $50 and you go, and it's all you can eat.
Oh, wow.
Giraffe and zebra, but they're a little gamey. It was an adventure. I think we went twice when we were there. I had to bring my mom back after me and my grandma got to experience it. We went with the cast and crew and director, and feasted on these animals. And I'm hoping the meat's okay, because they're trying to say these are natural kills, or like a lot of them were allowed to go hunt. The ones where you don't think we're allowed to go hunt, and we found a carcass and we're eating them now. I don't know how it works, but it was a neat adventure. We were, very small film crew, maybe 30 of us, on a pretty mobile film crew, mostly shooting on sticks with an Aeroflex camera, which can be repaired with a hammer and a screwdriver if it breaks down on you. We were shooting 35 millimeter film. They were blending it with 16 millimeter film and 35 millimeter of wildlife, for wildlife inserts of stuff that was way too dangerous to film. We crossed a stream with hippos in it. The hippos could charge and kill you any second.
Oh, yeah. Be careful around them.
Yep, hippos, very dangerous. They're like more deaths in Africa than lions. It's like, oh, that's great. We did go on safaris off of time. We went on regular old safaris, huge peak preserves. I got to see a pride of lions, about 18 lions, including the cubs. They had just finished a 3-day hunt for a wildebeest, a huge, like a water buffalo.
Okay.
We'll feed them for days, and they were parked around and feasting on this. And about 3 different tours had come up with their big Range Rovers, and we just sat there and watched them for hours. It was neat. I stopped taking Polaroids because the Polaroids did not capture it. I'm like, nope, it'll pervert my memory of such beautiful views. Same crew and locations as Sheena, Queen in the Jungle, and the Meryl Streep film, Robert Redford. Out of
Africa, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the same cast too.
What other animals did you see? Did you see like Cape buffalo, spotted hyena, or rhinoceros, or anything like that?
We saw hyenas and silverback jackals surround a cheetah that was parked under a tree, a lone tree in the middle of the savannah, and in the tree was a spider monkey that was definitely going to die.
Oh, it was good to die one way or the other. Oh.
Yeah. Cheetah's waiting for that thing to fall out of the tree. Meanwhile, the hyenas are giving the cheetah a bunch of hard problems. And then behind that are the silverback jackals biting the hyenas in the butts every once in a while. And they all know they're all going to fight over a little monkey, little baboon, little tiny thing. And it was frightened. The sun was going down, and this thing knew it was going to, start to get a little colder, and it might fall asleep and fall out of the tree to certain death.
Yeah, those jackals don't want to get too close to the hyena because they got jaws that are like steel.
And they say the food chain goes in within a day. The main predators eat, and they strip it. If they get fought off by a pack, usually it's a pack of hyenas taking on a lone, big game prey, then those will strip it further. Then the silverback jackals will come in, and they'll strip it further. Then the insects and carrion will come in, and within a day, you just see bleached bones sitting in the sun.
Yeah, hyenas will even eat the bones too.
Like
Yep.
a cackle in your face, evilly.
Oh yeah, I like listening to them cackle. Yeah, but
Driving, work, you'd see. They call them swallowtomi, which is Swanson's gazelle. Thompson's gazelle, that's what they are. Thompson's gazelle. There's this cool little racing stripe on their side and neat, curly kind of little antlers. They're everywhere. They're like deer size. And zebras, just hanging out. Just a pack of zebras. Just grazing, no big deal. And they're just on your way to the market. There's such a small town. We're in Lake Naivasha for several weeks, kind of base camped on an island in the middle of a freshwater lake in the middle of Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah, and of course, you never, you were completely in movies with Babysitters, Adventures of Babysitting, and then the babysitter's dead. Don't tell Mom the babysitter's dead. This babysitter didn't exactly end up well, but boy, you got to work with the stunning Christina Applegate. I still think she's got one of the most captivating set of eyes anybody in the business.
Oh, and wit and talent all around. I've known her for years in the kind of child actor circles. I hadn't worked with Christina, but we were friends. And I have such deep respect for her. When we started working together, it was a dream come true. The comedy just worked. And she took such good care of the whole family, of all the kids. She was like a big sister mom to the whole kind of brethren. I was just a flake-off brother, so I went and spent time in my trailer. So I had to, act in character. Once I got the wig on and everything, I was basically Kenny all day. And tiring, especially in the heat of the summer. We shot in Valencia in the middle of summer of 1990. I didn't know we'd have 3 hits on the soundtrack. There's a bunch of great songs on the soundtrack. We had Hiding Out, too, had 3 top 10 hits. Adventures of Babysitting, sadly, had no soundtrack. Just recently, I think, a Canadian publisher did come out with a Michael Kamen soundtrack that included 3 of the blues songs, classic blues songs, as well as the Babysitter blues. So there is officially now a legit way to get the Adventures of Babysitting soundtrack. Anyway, back to Don't Tell Mom. I got in the audition by originally going up for the boyfriend role, Brian, the clown dog guy, that Josh Charles played. And I felt I was too old to play 15. I mean, I was not too old to play 15. I just played the, guy with the babysitter, in love with, or the kind of date the romantic lead. And I really liked the Kenny role. I loved the brother, stoner, heavy metal, Guns N' Roses, and it turns into a gourmet chef. And really, the creators of it, their question was, we have all these movies with parents leaving town and the kids, it just turns into a wreck back at home. What if parents leave town, the babysitter dies, and the kids get their act together? What if they clean up the house and, save the business and, straighten up and do well at school? And I thought that was a really funny concept. It was originally called The Real World.
Okay.
It's a production, HBO, showed MTV Pictures, Outlaw Films. They had done Sex, Life, and Videotape, and Warner Brothers. And mid-production, we get told that our working girl kind of Home Alone film is now going to be called, because of the reality show The Real World coming out, MTV wanted to change it. So it's now going to be called Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I hit the floor. I couldn't believe I was now roped into 2 Babysitter movies. I'm yearning to do a third, cap off the trilogy, perhaps Faster Babysitter, Kill Kill.
That'd be great.
We'll get both Elisabeth Shue and Christina Applegate, and it'll be a hit.
Oh, gee, yeah, get Elisabeth Shue and Christina Applegate. Imagine being a guy being babysat by both of them. You'd have goosebumps all day, 24/7.
Well, they'd be great as 2 of the moms of the kids, and they're running around town trying to find their kids.
Yeah. I think Christina Applegate is beautiful. I've always liked her ever since Married with Children, and still happy to see her working today, like still doing comedy like the Anchorman movies and even the reboot of Vacation,
So funny, and it's so funny, and it's ironic that she gets known for Married with Children and this kind of sexy character that has to fit into these little small outfits. They asked her to gain a little weight for Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, so she had to look a little younger, more a teenager, a little baby fat. She gained 15 pounds. She had to take it right off after we finished, so she could go back to fitting into the Married with Children outfits. But her wit, her comedy, she's so sharp. And with Elisabeth Shue, here's a great comparison between the babysitters. Working with Lisa, which is, if you work with Elisabeth Shue, you get to just call her Lisa now. That's how it is.
Okay.
It is craft. It is what's the truth of the scene, where's the character coming from, where are they going, what's the conflict, live the moment and keep doing that over and over again from different angles and find a really true, pure moment, real. Like, because we had Thor, Mighty God of Thunder was Vincent D'Onofrio, and he was a total method actor, completely in character the whole time he was on set. Very scary, intimidating.
Okay.
Working with Christina Applegate is you get there in the morning, you get your coffee, and you go, all right, what's the bit today? Where's the gag? Where's the laugh? Where's the punchline? How do we set it up? Ooh, let's build that here. Let's misdirect them here. Like, it's all about crafting the joke. And it's such a language that I've learned from my grandfather growing up, a language I learned from watching tons of TV and film. And working with Christina was like, there was no talking about the truth of the moment or anything. It was just, what's the gag? Where's the funny in that? And I love it. It was, she makes it look really easy, effortlessly. Comes to set, looks great, and it continues to do such great work. And I think she's so funny, especially when she plays the bad, evil mom on the block, the PTA member kind of mom. Very funny, Christina. I think she's hysterical.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of hers, and able to do physical comedy really, really well, and you don't see that out of a lot of females these days, and she can pull it off.
No, she is a dancer. She's been dancing since she was, young teenage, probably younger than that, probably 12 or 13. Classic and jazz and modern dance, and that athleticism and flexibility, endurance, that allows you to take those falls and take those risks. And I love a good pratfall. There's good comedians out there, comedians that do it. Anna Kendrick, even Julianne Moore did some pratfalls in Evolution. Who else is good at the pratfall right now? Amy Schumer's pretty good. Tina Fey can do a good pratfall when she needs to. I think it's hysterical.
I'm also a fan of messy humor too, like in The Great Race, seeing the pie fight, and I happened to catch. I loved the Muppets growing up, and I caught a clip of Christina Applegate taking a. Scooter comes up to the door there, knocks on our door, and I guess she's supposed to do something because he's being forced by Miss Piggy, and he brings her a cake, and Christina says, I'm supposed to put that in my face, aren't I? And Scooter's kind of like downtrodden because, Christina could see Miss Piggy out there watching, and she goes, Scooter, I don't want to get you fired. So she takes the cake and she smashes it in her face, and I'm like, I like the fact that she's not one of these, I don't want to get a hair out of place, break my fingernail or whatever. She can do stuff like that.
She does a bit in Vacation where she is back at her sorority and she's trying to prove to them that she can still drink. And
Oh, that
party.
was great.
And she does it and pukes and falls, and it's just the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I laughed. I rewatched the whole movie just for that bit.
Yeah, and she was great at it. Even the scene where they're in the what they call a little whirlpool turned out to be sewage, and she's like rubbing that stuff all over her face and skin, and
Yeah, I can feel it in my pores. Oh, it's so gross.
oh, it's so gross. But yet, she seems to be down with doing stuff like that, and I'm like, kudos to her, because other actors might be so into their appearance that they wouldn't do that, but she does.
Yeah, that's part of being a great comedian is kind of playing on that. I think that Christina Applegate is Marilyn Monroe-esque in being, absolutely beautiful, if you, from an objective point of view.
Yep.
Yet also to be able to be Lucy and to be funny and take the falls.
Yeah. And speaking of taking the fall, there's other films that you did comedies as well. You worked with Pauly Shore, of course, and In the Army Now, and Pauly Shore doesn't have the best reputation in the movies, but I do have to ask, what was your experience like working on that?
Oh, I loved In the Army Now, directed by Daniel Petrie Jr., who was driving home from the set one day and trying to figure out how to end his movie, and he comes up with it. He goes, "Oh, I'll have two new stoner guys that look just like Andy Dick and DeLuise and Pauly Shore, and they'll come up and they'll start the movie all over again, basically, and sign up for water duty in Chad, water treatment." So I get a call. Can you be on the set tomorrow morning? And we're going to shoot this all in one take, and it's going to roll over the credits. We're actually having to go into the store, wait like 6 minutes, and then come out and finish the thing. And had a fun time doing that. Lori Petty, David Alan Grier, Esai Morales. Really fun cast on that.
Actually, you know what? I got to backtrack a little bit because I forgot to ask you about Joanna Cassidy, who was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitters did. I had her on here back in March to celebrate the 35th anniversary of Blade Runner. And, of course, she was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitters did.
And what, I don't fawn over people often, but I'd always loved Joanna Cassidy, not only from working with her, but all of her work, Roger Rabbit, Blade Runner, I just name it. So isn't it funny? I worked with Sean Young and Joanna Cassidy. So we see her at a convention in Los Angeles just late last year. And who is the greatest, sweetest? She's exactly like I remember. Not an air in her about her. She must have been so fun to talk to. And me and her both wore wigs in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter did. So actually, we'd get in before Christina Applegate into hair and makeup and laugh and giggle and start up our day together. And then Christina would come in and take 20 minutes and be out. It was kind of pathetic. But her laugh is very real. As Rose Lindsay, she really snorkels like that when she laughs. It's hysterical.
Yeah, I enjoyed having her on the show, and I had to backtrack on that. And of course, In the Army Now, you worked with Lori Petty in that as well.
Yep.
And
it was amazing. I even got to do a table reading of Tank Girl with Lori, but it was for the who took my part? Ice-T, I think, took my part. I don't feel so bad.
And of course, you did Under the Boardwalk, where you had a little more, I'd say a little more central. It's been a while for that one for me. You were a little more central in that movie, were you not?
As a narrator, I think as a way for the audience to see into this cheap West Side Story Romeo and Juliet knockoff at the beach with vowels and locals. It was made, I feel, a year or two late, but it had this goofy, really off-the-wall, almost to the point of take you out of the movie comedy that I really loved. And then it took itself very seriously with the surfing turf wars. And it stayed pretty close to the structure of Romeo and Juliet. If you look, they meet at a party scene. They're from opposing families or sides. She's a local, and her brother is a big surfer, and she falls in love with a valley boy who is a surfer and is fighting with the brother, who eventually gets toppled out of the competition and taken out, or killed, if you will, a la Romeo and Juliet. It's Tracy Walters was on that, Dick Miller, working with Roxana Zal. I had a lot of my scenes were with Roxana Zal, as we were kind of two fish out of water. That she didn't like any of the scenes that were going on at the beach. They had Surfers for Christ, they had the punks, they had the old hippie surfers. Sonny Bono was in that. Surf punks, really fun soundtrack as well. And shot all in Southern California beaches. We're a proud surf movie to say that all of the surf, none of the film, surfing was shot in Hawaii or anything. It was all shot in Southern California.
And of course, you got a couple of lesser-known films that I have to ask you about too, like Just a Little Harmless Sex. Yeah, sex being harmless these days with STDs. That's hardly ever harmless anymore. It's not back like it was in the old days.
And I love it. It is a what if the girls' night out and a boys' night out kind of came together and clashed at the end of the night. And I shot a scene where Michelle Williams stripped. Or no, who was it? Who's Father of the Bride? Who's that one?
I don't remember.
Anyway, it was a last-minute call. Can you come to the set? We had an actor not show up. I'm like, of course, I'll be right there. And I had a guy that egged her on to keep stripping as she was too drunk. But cute little indie romantic comedy. Kind of singles, a lot in the style of singles.
Yeah, Alison Eastwood was in that.
Yep. That worked with Scott Eastwood as well.
And and Lon Hutton, of course, a veteran in that movie. Yeah, and then you also did a film called The Godson, where you get to work with one of my favorite comedians, Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney was amazing. I had done Ivory Tower for this production company, and they were known for doing Baby Geniuses. So I called them up and I go, "Hey, you guys working on anything?" They're like, "Yeah, we're doing this mafia spoof movie." And I was like, "Hey, you got any roles for me?" "Yeah, we'll figure something out." They call me and they say, "Would you drive Rodney?" I said, "Excuse me?" They go, "Well, we don't want anyone to bug Rodney or anything. We know you'll be cool. Would you drive Rodney? Go pick him up in in Westwood every day and drive him to make sure he gets to the set on time and knows his lines." "Well, you want me to make sure Rodney knows his lines." "Okay, good luck with that." I did it though, and I got a Lincoln Town car, and I got to pick up and be his driver and listen to him develop jokes and develop material in the back. It was amazing. He's a legend, a comedy legend. And then there's Dom DeLuise, Kevin McDonald, of course, star, Fabiola. We had such a fun time shooting that. It was a silly, no-holds-barred spoof. Like, if you come up with a silly idea, let's find it, let's do it, let's set it on fire. Yeah, sure. Just ribald and fun, and I like those kind of silly movies. It's also really funny to see people taking it seriously on the set. You're doing some silly sight gag, and people are like, taking a tape measure and making sure the lens is focused and the lighting's right. And like, we're just doing a pie gag. Come on.
Do what? Yeah.
Just doing something silly. And then, the Godson was so totally silly. And, references of other movies. It's like one of those, not another teen movie kind of movies.
It's interesting, too, because I come to find out you're not the only one from that movie that I interviewed. I had Lisa London, of course, the other one, this thing I screwed up on before. So far, we're doing fine on that, by the way. Knock on wood. But Lisa London, I guess, was in The Godson, too, and she said good things about working with Rodney. I had not seen The Godson, but it's one I had to ask about. But I'm assuming you didn't get to work with Lisa, huh?
I'm sure I was on set basically every day, and then I had two different parts in the film too, if you look close enough.
Oh, did you know Lisa London?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. I know she said she had a scene, I think, where I think, falls on his lap or something like that, or face down or something like that. But I think she said this. I think she said this was Rodney's last movie or something like that.
Oh, it was one of his last films. That's right. That's right. Oh, wait, what did she play in that? Hold on, let me check. I got to bring up the IMDb now for Lisa.
Yeah. Yeah, I had her on here. She was talking about
so many great films. So,
well, she was in Hots. She was talking about that, and I guess she's got to go be at the Cannes Film Festival promoting a horror film that she was in. So, yeah. So
she's in City Wexler. That looks really good. It got a 20-minute standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival. Where is it?
Yeah. But I know she said that she said good things about working with Rodney Dangerfield in that film. So,
He was. I'd see him try out material on the pretty girls that would walk by his chair. He'd go, "Hey, honey, come here. Tell me this is funny."
Yeah. So I take it everybody gave him some respect then.
They did. So much respect for Rodney. They would have everything ready to go for him, get him dressed, get him on set, shoot him out in about an hour or two, and then, break him for lunch and send him home. And he's, of course, total pro, writing new material as he goes. He never really did anything the same way twice. And one time we thought we had all his dialogue, but they let him go, and they realized that he still had a couple more lines in the scene, so we gave him to Lou Ferrigno.
Oh. I had interviewed, back in 2015, I'd interviewed Adrienne Barbeau, who worked with Rodney on Back to School. And I asked her if she gave Rodney any respect, and she said, well, he might not have thought he got any respect, but there was a line of women every day outside his trailer.
Oh, yeah. See, comedy gets all the ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife thinks I'm hysterical.
Yeah. So, what do we have coming up for Keith Coogan?
We have a couple of great projects already completed.
Okay.
But I can't quite promote them yet. They are of big enough nature to have signed a non-disclosure agreement, but I will say I'm very excited to be doing an Amazon project. And the other one is a telefilm, kind of like a movie of the week.
Okay.
Network I won't mention, but that one is got, I think it's going to be pretty pop culture. You think people are really, really going to like this. It might get a lot of press. I have a pretty funny part in there. And I talked to the filmmakers, and they said that I'm still in the picture. So you never know. You can work on stuff, and you get cut out, and you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm not in the picture anymore. But yeah, so those two great projects, and working on producing my own short film, and I also have a television series I have written and am in development to try to get made, featuring a lot of my fellow former child stars. So wish me luck on those.
So is it going to have two really hot babysitters we both know and love in it?
Absolutely. Fighting over me on the beach. Always write a movie that takes place in someplace warm with nice water and good beaches.
And nice-looking women.
Of course. It naturally draws them there.
There you go. So do you got any charities or anything you're involved with?
Just yesterday, took part in the autism awareness for ACT Today. They support families of autistic and developmentally disabled kids on the spectrum.
Okay.
1 in 68 families are affected by autism in the United States. And we did a live fundraiser with Corey Feldman and the Angels. We had Doc in there, Angie Everhart. We had fun. Oh, Donnie Most was there and did some live music. it was a Facebook live streaming fundraiser.
Oh, wow.
Hours, and I sat down and I did an interview with Corey Feldman and his wife Courtney, and it was so fun to see them doing that. To see technology used in a neat way. It was the first time I'd seen a fundraiser done as a live video online like that. And it's just I think audiences are finding ways to use technology and make their own material, and I like to see that businesses and nonprofits are getting entrepreneurial and going for it. It was a great event, drinks and snacks and coffee and gift bags and the Angels. And we had Getty Images. Thank you to the Getty Images for coming out and photographing the event. And Corey Feldman's documentary film crew also continuing to follow him on his world tour as he dominates with his record release.
Oh, I'd love to get Corey. I'd love to get Corey Feldman on there. I felt so bad because when Corey Haim passed away, because I thought of Corey Feldman, of course, and Corey Haim's last movie was shot here in Fredericton, American Sunset. Yeah, that was shot here.
He was always really happy up in Canada, which is where he's from. I think that L.A. and Hollywood can be too much of a city for anybody.
Yeah.
And me and Corey Feldman know, we have family that are in the industry and understand it, kind of helped us grow up a little bit. And we're tough kids. Not to say that Haim not, but his poor little heart couldn't take it. He had a very big heart, much bigger heart than me or any of my friends that I know. My wife has a big heart too, but Corey's heart was just too big and it broke. And we miss him dearly. And we've lost too many people. Keith Ledger, Corey Haim.
Yep.
River Phoenix, Jonathan Brandis. It's something that I don't like to see. I'd love to see. I'd love to not see an epidemic of former child stars going through that.
No, that's right. Yeah. Well, it's nice to see Corey Feldman still busy. We don't see him too much in the movies, but it's nice to see he's still out there, and wish him the best.
Of course. Oh yeah, he's very hardworking.
Yep.
Very talented, and he'll continue. He works a lot. He does a lot of genre films and supports a lot of independent cinema. Produces his own projects. So yeah, look for some other cool projects from Corey Feldman very soon.
You got a web page that people can check out your stuff on?
For me, I'm at KeithCooganOnline.com, or just search all for Keith Coogan and you'll find info. On Twitter at Keith Coogan, Instagram at Keith Coogan, and there's my wife Pinky. Hi, Pinky. And thank you. And you can keep a track of what I'm doing, and I have a great merchandise site. You can buy autographs and t-shirts, and I can sign a dish for you and say the dishes are done, man, on it.
There's not any dead babysitters on there or anything, is there?
No. Great. Don't tell Mom the Babysitter's dead merchandise. Yes. Magnets. Get your magnets right here.
Well, Keith, it was such an honor to have you on here, and I thank you for. I gotta say again, thank you for coming back on here after it screwed up before. Thank you so much. It just shows what a stand-up, generous, gracious individual you are. You don't always see that in the industry, but especially when TMZ often highlights these blow-ups on set. But you strike me as the kind of guy every director would want on a film set.
Well, I thank you for that, and no problem. I'm so sorry that we had the difficulties last time. You're a great interviewer. You're a great listener. It's always fun to tell my stories, even if I have to tell them twice. We didn't even cover Toy Soldiers this time, so maybe I'll come back and we can talk about
Hey, cover it. Tell me about that.
Oh, just Will Wheaton, Sean Astin, out in Charlottesville, Virginia. Come on. Guns and helicopters and explosions, and that was one of the funnest films. It's Taps. Dead Poets Society meets Die Hard. We practical pranked each other to death on it. Had a blast shooting it, and are still. I'd been friends with Sean Astin because his father had done the Addams Family with my grandfather. But Will Wheaton, I've done 3 things with Will Wheaton. Python, which is our 130-foot snake movie. So directed by the guy who wrote Back to the Future. We got into a lot of trouble, just as much as the kids making it, and we formed little mini rock bands, and, bought guitars and basses, and we're playing in our trailers, and it was a good fun 3 months, hot in Charlottesville, Virginia, but we made it work, and we'd run into Washington D.C. and go see concerts and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Super fun.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, is there anything else you want to promote before we sign off?
No, thanks for having me. Keep checking the convention schedules. If you see a convention in your town, or for any of your listeners near you, or you see, say, hey, try to get Keith Coogan in on that, or let me know on my social media. We'll contact the organizers and try to arrange a trip out.
Okay. Well, before you go, I was wondering if you would do a plug for my show.
I'd love to.
Yeah. Just state your name and say you're listening to Python's Paradise, Python like the snake, with Greg Gilbert in New Brunswick, Canada. You got all that?
No, hold on. So wait, say that again? Say that one more time.
The show's called Python's Paradise.
Right.
Yeah, and of course my name's Greg Gilbert, and I'm from New Brunswick, Canada.
Okay, got it.
You ready?
Ready.
Go.
Hi, this is Keith Coogan from Adventures of Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, basically the king of the babysitter movies. You're listening to Greg Gilbert and Python's Paradise in New Brunswick. Have a good one. Rock and roll.
You have yourself a fantastic day, Keith, and thank you so much for doing the show.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Yep, God bless you, man.
All right, take care.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.